So we made our blocks, but usually blocks are not just HTML layout. They also require styling and JavaScript to work and display properly. So if we look at this page, it has a couple of style sheets, and we can see it has a couple of JavaScripts that are needed to display blocks correctly. So just as a side note, this template is a bit bloated, has lots of style sheet files and JavaScript files, but I find it's quite a good representation of what kind of templates we can find in use today or in marketplaces today. So most likely this is something you would also face when you would design blocks out of the template you bought from the marketplace, for example. So that's why we are using this example. It's not perfect template, but it's a kind of real-world scenario. Okay, so we have to tell the library, so we have to set which files are required by our library. And to do that, we open in components, edit resources. And this is a list of various like style sheets, images, and JavaScript files that will be included into pages alongside our blocks, alongside the HTML. Okay, and the easiest way to add those resources, so let's start with CSS, is we open the head, so we see which style sheets are included on the page, and then we just use the project view to include these style sheets in as resources. And one note, like this is a bootstrap template, and as a general best practice, we don't include framework CSS and JavaScript files as resources. One reason is that most likely these resources will already be included on the page where we will use the blocks, and also the destination page might use a special version of the framework or like a customized framework. So it's best if we just say our blocks require Bootstrap. Okay, so let's now add CSS files. So here we can see base combined. We find it here, right click, add to resources, and it appeared here. Next one, plugins, animate, add. Next one, plugins. The next one is line icons in plugins. Add to resource. And then again in plugins we have font awesome. And we could also leave the font awesome out and just say, okay, if you want to use the font awesome icons, you should enable it on the page, but let's leave it for now. And then we have our carousel. It's here now. And we have custom CSS in assets. Although, like if we check in CSS, custom CSS is empty, so it's not so much part of the blocks, but rather it's something that every page has, so we just leave it. We don't need it as a resource. And you probably noticed that we also have like a lot of other supporting files. So for example, for line icons, we have a bunch of, we actually need the font files, and for other plugins as well. So rather than select each individual file as the resource, we can just say, let's take plugins folder and add it to resources. And let's take image folder and add it to resources as well, so that images will be shown, placeholder images will be shown when we use the blocks. But still, if we want to include the CSS files into the page, we have to list them separately. So it's not enough to just take the plugins folder and set it as an asset. We also have to set in separately like the CSS files that we want to include in the destination page. And all the rest of the files will be just copied alongside. Okay, we also have to do the JavaScript files. So jQuery, that's something that should be there already. Same for Bootstrap. Okay, and then we have easing. Add to resources, and here we can select to include in the footer. And we have parallax. Personally, I don't like to use so many plugins and various effects on web pages. I don't feel they add any valuable to the experience. They're more a distraction. But still nowadays they're very popular, so we have to show how to use them. Counters. Carousel. Here in assets. Okay, and that's it. Let's save it. Select include in footer and then save. And we can notice that we also have an inline script that will run the JavaScript plugins. So let's talk about it in the next video.